You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Bulldogs podcast. I am barely Daniel.
Look, I told you all I was not lying. There's a reason I went solo yesterday. Listen to this man's voice. T's and P's to the voice. And if you have, really, really good, there it is. There that is, Daniel.
Get that out. They're going to be coming in. They're going to be coming in on the regular. I'm doing my best.
Hey, if you are new to Locked On Bulldogs, glad you're here. This is Locked On Podcast, your team every day, Locked On Bulldogs. We are fans first and foremost. So, hey, this just in. I need you to listen to me. So hard listen.
Yeah.
The hardest you've ever
listened to. Say it again.
Before.
No, we've never said this before. So say it again in case
we talk like fans do about Georgia. And fans tend to accentuate small things into big things, get emotional into it, know a whole lot about the team. And this just in as well. Do you know how many people were at practice today for 20 minutes of a time that Kirby gave the people? There were like 5 people there for 20 minutes. Outside of that, do you know how often people show up at practice at UGA? None of the time. We talk like fans do. So if you're on this podcast, you're listening to us, you're watching us on YouTube, you're listening to us on Stitcher or Apple Podcasts, leave us a 5-star rating and review. Glad you're there. Hit the comments below on the YouTube. Subscribe. Get with us. We'll be here all off-season, quote unquote, leading up to the season. And today we're talking about spring practice. Some things have already happened in spring ball.
Yes,
new coaches on. Injuries already there. I talked Monday about the offensive line and wide receivers being a question mark this spring. Kirby came out today and said they're really thin at wide receiver. It's a question who's going to come up. Oh, that's interesting.
Kirby listens to the pod.
Kirby listens to the pod. He also talked about defensive back. So we're going to talk about injuries. We're going to talk about positions. We're going to talk about who needs to show up and show out in spring ball and surprise us all. And that's what we're doing today.
Yeah, let's just jump right into it. Thanks to all of you who are listening, watching. Thanks if you're jumping in the comments, even if it's just to say some random negative thing that nobody really needs to hear, but that's fine. Thanks for jumping in the comments and not having anything better to do. We appreciate all of you. Happy to be here. As Clint said, we'll be here all off season, getting ready to. We don't defend the national championship, Clint. That's Kirby made that clear. There's no defense of it because guess what? You can't take it from us. It don't matter if we lose every game. You can't take it from us. The last time Florida won a national championship, it was 2000 something. That was when that was the last. No.
Hanging chads were a question.
That's a long time ago.
Won the championship.
Heck of a long time ago. You can't take our national championship from us. We're not going to defend it, but Georgia is going to field another team in 2022, and just in, they might be pretty good. So let's talk about spring practice. Obviously, injuries are a concern. Logan Johnson goes down early in spring practice, preferred walk-on wide receiver. There's been some other guys maybe dinged up here and there. The spring injury report is long. You got guys like Arian Smith, Brock Bowers, Darnell Washington, all big-time pass-catching options, I would say. Yes, Clint, all out for the spring. You got guys like Tate Ratledge, Jacob Hood, Griffin Scroggs, all potential rotation players. Maybe Tate Ratledge, a starter, a presumed starter on the offensive line, going to miss the spring. Will that impact his ability to start come the fall? We shall see. You got guys like Ryan Davis, Smile Mondon, CJ Madden, all linebackers. Are we thin at linebacker, Clint?
Somebody tell me the definitive starting linebacker, inside linebackers right now.
Well, they all are in the NFL draft right now, so there's not a lot left. And then you got Tyke Smith. This was a big one to me, that the Tyke Smith not being back for the spring, because Kirby mentioned thin at defensive back. We're going to talk for a whole episode about the defensive backfield and the Tyke Smith injury in particular. But I'm going to pose this question to you, Clint, because people have been writing stories about this, or people have been putting out videos about this, and you see this phrase used a lot, blessing in disguise. And so I'm going to ask you, are injuries in the springtime Do they have the potential to be a quote unquote blessing in disguise? And why or why not?
They were blessing in disguise with how people used to run programs, Daniel.
Okay.
How you used to run a program is be one-on-one, good on good. You had a 1, you had a 2. It was clear and evident who these players were. They were given preferential treatment. They were, the top dog in and above. There was a 4-star with a 2-star behind them, and there wasn't a lot of development.
We're talking about Mark Richt.
We're talking about look, who am I to speak ill of the blessed Mark Richt? And I love Mark Richt. But I'm happy to have
podcast is very pro Mark Richt. But
pro.
That is you're describing Mark Richt's program.
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Kirby runs a program in which you got 4 and 5 stars everywhere, and he develops all the players together. So you need depth. So blessing in disguise, I don't know. I think Tyke is an integral part because of how his brain works in that secondary and the experience. So development's key. Experience and development are 2 different things, y'all. Tyke has both. So I think I don't understand that. I get what they're trying to say. Better get the injury bug out early, get another guy rep so that when the starter comes back. I don't like that mentality. And it used to be a mentality of old. I think the new mentality is get the best players developed at the best time and get reps for everybody, because during the season, you know what? You're going to need everybody.
You're going to need a lot of players. You do not win national championships with 22 players. All right. That's not the way that it works. I agree. Not a blessing in disguise. But I will say this. Don't make the mistake of trying to learn too much during the spring. And this is, we're all going to be guilty of this because we're hungry for football. Okay. We have just endured Tom Crean for an entire year. Okay. You understand? That's how hungry we are for football.
The man is out the door and Daniel is dragging his body back.
I won't stop. I will pull punches for every NIT appearance his Georgia Bulldogs made.
Oh no.
I'll wait. Oh no. Okay. We're hungry for football. And so everyone's going to be trying to dissect and analyze and this guy and he's getting reps and I wonder what that'll mean. And the fact of the matter is, we're going to talk about this in just 1 second. Fact of the matter is, you're going to see some guys play this spring and they're going to make you go, ooh. And then that is going to translate into the fall. And in the fall, you're going to realize, oh, that was real. Oh, that was a real thing.
They can play.
But then you're going to see some other guys play this spring and they're going to make you go, ooh. And then the injured players are going to come back and you're going to realize maybe that makes me excited for future years, but it's not going to mean anything this year. So don't try to make the mistake of learning too much during the spring. We are going to see some guys, and I do like, from a selfish standpoint, I don't need to see Brock Bowers and Darnell Washington out there this spring. I just don't need to see them. I don't care to see them. It's just another opportunity for them to suffer a really significant injury. I'm not interested in it.
No.
The fact that Stetson Bennett's back makes me even less concerned about do they need chemistry with the quarterback? No, they do not. They do not need to develop any of that. They're both good. So just get them healthy, get them rested, get them with their surgeries, and get them on to fall practice. I do think some of the others, we'll talk case by case as we move forward through the spring. But let's shift our focus now to some of those players who might stand out this fall, Clint, who might make us say, ooh, as we watch.
But first, we'll let you know about Stat Hero. Stat Hero helps the podcast out a bunch because it makes sure that you guys don't have to pay for anything. So we love Stat Hero, and let's talk about them right now. We love March Madness.
I'm sorry, were we going to start charging for the podcast?
Nope. Podcast free, Daniel.
No, that's why we do the ads.
There it is. Anyone Right now, you could just love March Madness. You should be loving March Madness.
You should.
Masters is coming. It's a fantastic time to take players, gambling, fantasy, and join them together in a fantastic online experience. And that's exactly what Stat Hero is. Stat Hero's NCAA single game pick'ems pits the stars against each other, an amazing hybrid between fantasy and sports gambling. Stop focusing on players that you don't know. Start focusing on players that you do know, with the best gameplay that doesn't rely on big spreads, long odds, or funky props. Stat Hero gives you the advantage of resulting in gaming wins 4 times more often. Why? Because Stat Hero eliminates the mystery about who or what you are going up against. You set your lineup to a predetermined lineup that Stat Hero gives you ahead of time. Right now, all of our listeners can head on over to stathero.com/lockedon. Use promo code LOCKEDON for 100% deposit match. That's stathero.com/lockedon. Use promo code LOCKEDON for 100% match. stathero.com/lockedon. Promo code LOCKEDON. Terms and conditions apply.
Also want to let you know about Built Bar. It's the tastiest protein bar on planet Earth. They come in a wide variety of delicious flavors. Clint and I have tried them all, and we've been talking about Built Bar on this podcast for years. They're a longtime friend of the show. And listen, I can't lie that many times in a row convincingly.
I've met his mother. His mother would slap him.
It just wouldn't work after a while. But I'm going to tell you, I have no problem doing this Built Bar ad read, because Built Bar is a protein bar, high in protein, high in fiber, low in sugar, keto approved, great for whatever meal plan or meal replacement strategy you are on. And yet it tastes like a candy bar. It's a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. They come in a variety of textures, a variety of flavors. All of them can be found at BuiltBar.com. And if you enter the promo code LOCKEDON15, that's LOCKEDON15, you get 15% off your first order at BuiltBar.com, the tastiest protein bar on planet Earth.
All right, Daniel, you were talking about before this. What were you saying?
Yeah, let's talk about, let's just use the most recent example. So last spring, we were introduced to a man by the name of A.D. Mitchell.
We were all baptized in the name of A.D. Mitchell last spring.
He came on the scene in that spring game, and I don't know if you recall, Clint, but he caught, now listen to me, he caught every ball. Boss Bailey blocked every kick, and A.D. Mitchell caught every ball in the spring game last year. And we all said, oh, this kid can play a little bit. Oh, this is interesting. This is a kind of an unheralded, maybe a 3-star kid in some services. Oh, it's interesting. This kid seems like, but we got a ton of injuries at wide receiver, Clint. Oh, we got a ton of injuries. Oh, you know what? Don Blaylock, he's not playing in the spring game. Oh, you know what? Kearis Jackson, he did play in the spring game. Oh, you know what? George Pickens, he's not playing in the spring game. Oh, you know, it's probably when those guys come back, Clint. Sure. A.D. Mitchell will just fall off. But see, the thing is that those guys did come back, and A.D. Mitchell was still catching bombs in the national championship game to secure the victory for the University of Georgia. He was the most important wide receiver on the team, period, last year, over the course of the entire season.
Don't qualify that.
He is the preeminent wide receiver coming back, expected to take the lion's share of the reps at wideout 1. So I ask you, Clint, let's just spitball. Who are some candidates to be this year's A.D. Mitchell? Now, we're not necessarily predicting that this could be or trying to put unrealistic expectations on a kid, but we're just, somebody is likely to emerge this spring. Who are some candidates in your mind that you might want to keep an eye on?
Okay, let's talk about people who aren't going to emerge because they've already shown out in many, many ways, but are new to UGA. Eric Gilbert is an all-world talent at wide receiver. Yes, you heard me correctly. He's a wide receiver this year, which...
all-world talent.
All-world. Okay, he's already shown out as a freshman. Last year, needed to get some things right, got them right, back with the program. Kearis Jackson, we know what he does, right, Daniel? Do we have any question marks on who he is?
Kearis Jackson's been in this program for 28 years.
That's exactly right.
If you don't know what he does by now, that's on you.
Chris Conley and Kearis Jackson have had the same amount of, it's been fantastic. So those guys don't need any introduction. I'm going to go with a guy, 6'2", 205, hasn't caught a ball to my knowledge on this program quite yet.
Okay.
Jackson Meeks, Daniel.
Okay.
Okay. This kid's fluid.
He got some run last year. I don't know if he caught a ball, but he did get some run.
I mean. He was out there. I can't remember him catching a ball, but he was out there. I saw him in the rotation. Yeah. I think he has a chance because of all these injuries, because of what they want to do, because of he fits an AD prototype, if you will, size and speed and ability. But I think this kid has the talent to match it as well. We haven't seen him. He's already been in the program a year, which is ahead of the curve from AD. I know we're looking maybe at freshman guys. So he's got that one distinction on him. But I'm going to go Meeks as my guy to watch this spring. Who's your guy?
No, I think that's a fascinating candidate. I'm going to kind of give you 1.5. So, I like it. Clint, I'm going to give you the half right now because I thought you were going to mention him. He's a half because he's a guy I thought you were going to mention but then again, if he does break out onto the scene, I think it will be a little bit of a, oh, wow moment for Georgia fans. And that's Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint. I think this is the time. This is your dance. Live every moment, Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint. Leave nothing to chance. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying to say to you.
Stop serenading him.
I won't. You can't make me stop serenading him. He's a national champion, Clint. You just act like he doesn't deserve a serenade. Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint, I think, is set up for success this year. You mentioned Ari Gilbert. I would say definitively Ari Gilbert is behind Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint on the depth chart right now, in my mind. Now, does that mean there's not going to be packages where they couldn't be on the field together? No. Ari Gilbert's going to be in tight in some formations. He's going to be split out in some formations. We don't even know how much he's going to play.
I don't know what he's going to be in because I haven't seen it yet. But to your point, that's the imagination.
But Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint, we do know who this is. We have seen it before. We thought we were going to see it last year, but for whatever reason, we just did not. Now, could it be that the reason we did not is because the game is not quite there and maybe he's not that dude? That could be. I think we have to be willing to admit that could be. But maybe he just wasn't right from the injury. Mm-hmm. Maybe by the time he was feeling right from the injury, Jorge Pickens was coming back and stealing those reps. Maybe Stetson Bennett could not throw it to anyone but Brock Bowers, and so it didn't really matter who we trotted out there because Brock Bowers caught every ball during the regular. What A.D. Mitchell was to the spring game, Brock Bowers was to the regular season. I think we know that. Sir. But keep an eye out for Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint, Clint, because I think he could be a guy that could make some noise this spring. And if he does make some noise this spring, I'm just going to tell you right now, you better bet that's going to translate into the fall. That's not a flash in the pan. If you see him make noise this spring, he's coming this fall.
Yeah, it means he's put them all together at that point, Daniel. Hey, we're going to come back after this, talk more spring practice position groups. But first, we'll let you about RockAuto. RockAuto is the full mustache of auto parts dealerships. If you don't know what the full mustache is, let me tell you this. The last time you walked into another parts dealership and you saw somebody who had peach fuzz instead of a full abject man stash
that child was not qualified to sell you auto parts.
And yet he sold you auto parts from a catalog that he had to look up on the computer. Anytime somebody says, let me check the computer, they're not looking for inventory. They're finding out what you actually meant when you requested a part. That's what they're doing.
Do you know who else can check the computer, Clint? All of us. We can't.
I have a computer in front of me right here. You have a computer in front of you. You have a phone in front of you, listener. So head over right now to rockauto.com. Your best place to find reliably low prices on every single car part your car will ever need, foreign or domestic, interior, exterior, mechanical, whatever you need. RockAuto has the car part for you. It's fast, it's reliable, it's going to come straight to your door. You don't have to go to Walmart in the middle of the night and Lord have mercy knows you're going to get shanked. Don't do that. Head over to rockauto.com. Let them know what I sent you by putting Locked On into the How Did You Hear About Us segment. Helps them out, helps us out, helps you out. rockauto.com.
All right, Clint, the other name is, and I'm curious as your thoughts, but the other name is Oscar Delp. It has to be. It has to be Oscar Delp. We've talked
Anybody
about him
who
on this
watched
podcast
last
before.
season and then watches him this season, you can't help but have that be the name that comes to the tip of your tongue watching what Brock Bowers did.
The problem is, Clint, I promise you, Oscar Delp is going to make you say, wow, this spring. I can almost guarantee it.
Yep.
Just watch some practice highlights, watch the G-Day game. That kid is coming. Okay? He is going to make you say, wow, this spring.
He's special.
The problem is that when the fall comes around, Brock Bowers is coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Darnell Washington coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Eric Gilbert going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint, we just talked about, another big body wideout. He's going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Clint, can it translate to the fall? That's the question I think you have to have. But it's almost a foregone conclusion. This kid's going to make some wow special plays, and he's going to show you something. And one way or another, Georgia fans, get excited because it's going to be a glimpse into your future. In 2 years, now just listen, not 1 year, not 1 year.
No.
But 2 full more years of Brock Bowers. Oh, Lord have mercy. There are other teams who think they're going to compete in the SEC East. Do you understand that? You understand that? They're trying to sell that to their program. Okay.
Not for the next 2 years, you won't.
In 2 years, when Brock Bowers leaves and becomes the highest drafted Georgia pass catcher ever in the NFL draft, you'll be in good hands, Georgia fans. And you're going to see that this spring. You're going to see that from young Oscar Delp. The question is, Clint, can it translate to the fall? And I don't know.
This is a huge question mark, and it needs to be a question mark in every single one of your eyes. And here's what's so fascinating, again, about this new type of system. I'm going to use Jorge as an example. I'm going to use Dom Blaylock as an example. I'm going to use Arian Smith as an example. There are very
is a name we haven't even talked about. This guy.
I was thinking about adding him in the second segment. I was thinking about it. I think he's going to have a big year. But see, this is my point.
Kirby says
we're thin. I know we're thin at wide receiver. We just listed how many pass catchers. We ain't like, I know what he's trying to get at. He's being tongue in cheek. He's being a little cheeky because receiver, he considers Brock a tight end. He's talking about the exact position group.
Yeah. He called Eric Gilbert a tight end earlier. But
that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. But that's not the way Todd Monken sets up the field. You understand?
That's exactly right. So I think what we'll see is flashes from everybody. Daniel. Okay. Because I think gone are the days in which you have a guy catch 95 passes for 950 yards throughout the season. I think those days are done. You're going to get 40 catches for 600, 700 yards, and you're going to flash. So can he have those moments? Yeah, he may very well have a game here and there in which, for whatever reason, the game plan came together. Stetson or whoever wins the quarterback competition comes out and reads well and delivers the ball, and he's in the exact position. That's again what y'all have to understand about this. We're not going to force feed any one wide receiver, and stop demanding we do. Stop it.
But what has Todd Monken's offense ever gotten us, Clint?
A national
what's it ever? Oh no, that was the defense. Clint.
Yeah, sure.
That wasn't the offense. Didn't do any of that.
No, they didn't
Clint.
do any of that. I know.
They didn't.
How foolish of me. I know.
Foolish of you.
I know. I clearly don't know what I'm talking about. I clearly.
Well, you're just a fan.
I'm just a fan.
Maybe if you, I don't know, were more of an insider, you would have a better understanding of what you were talking about. But I digress. All right. This has been the Locked On Bulldogs podcast. We really appreciate you being here. Listen, spring practice is a fun time because this is what it's about. It's about speculation. It's about the guessing game. It's about what does this mean? What does it not mean? We're all trying to read the tea leaves. It's fun to talk about Georgia football, guys, and that's what the podcast is all about. So come join us, subscribe, leave us a rating and review. Tell a friend about the show. Again, as Clint said, we'll be here all off season, getting you ready for the 2022 season kickoff against Oregon. And we're excited every step of the way. There's going to be a bunch to talk about. We'll be back later this week to break down a bunch more and dive into new position groups and talk about what's going on the field. But until then, we'll see you guys later.
See you.